Hey everybody, today I'm going to teach you about the advantages and disadvantages of the pirate faction. So in Pirates Constructible strategy game, the pirates are obviously the faction because the game is named after them. Pretty much all the sets have pirates of the whatever, like Spanish Main, in them. So it's no surprise that the pirates are the best faction. So therefore, they're a lot easier to use than most of the other factions, especially some of the minor factions in the Cursed. So that's one of the best ways to take advantage of them. It's just they're the best faction, so they're not as hard to win with as some of the other factions. So it's night and day compared to like pirates versus mercenaries. So as a result, I would recommend trying to use other factions, not just the pirates, because they are the easiest to win with. They're the best faction in the game. Part of the reason for that is because they have awesome balance. So they have a lot of amazing gunships, but even more amazing gold runners for the most part. But they have a ton of great ships in both categories, along with a ton of great hybrids as well, as we're going to see some of those soon. And they're often underpriced for no reason. You'll notice this with ships like the Banshee's Cry, which is 3 points but could have been 10 or more. And a lot of their named crew get discounts where you can see that 2 abilities should come to 9 points, but they only come to 6 points. So that's an extreme example, but a lot of times pirate name crew are just cheaper than they should be for no good reason. So WizKids kind of purposely made the pirates the best faction, and quantity and quality. So they have the most ships in the game, they have the most named crew in the game and crew overall, and they have a ton of great ships and a ton of great crew. So it's just an embarrassment of riches basically. So they have a ton of great stuff in every category essentially. And yeah, lots of great and unique named crew. So we'll see some of those. They have a pretty decent amount of named crew that are pretty much not available at all with other nations, including some abilities that don't show up anywhere else, which is pretty neat. But it just makes the rich even richer. So in the description below, you can find links to these threads, such as my rankings threads. 2015, I ranked the top 10 pirate gunships. So, for example, the Zeus, you could make a decent case that she's one of the best gunships or even the best in the game, especially with a World Hater board to essentially make all 10 cannons 2S. So that ship is amazing. So this kind of continues a series of where to get the most out of each faction, you'll often want to use their best game pieces, because every faction does have mediocre game pieces, and they all have some pretty bad ones too, even the pirates do. But to take advantage of them, you'll often want to, optimize your fleets and use the best stuff if you're trying to get, the most out of them, so to speak, which is what this series is based on. So the Black Pearl is an amazing gunship with a really great ability, just like Griffin, +1 to cannons and +S to speed. So with the Captain and Helmsman, for 22 points, you'd have LSS speed and a mix of 2L and essentially 1L cannons. So very, very effective gunship there. The Revenant is a classic from Spanish Main that still holds up nowadays. Same with the original Harbinger. And the one from David Jones' Curse is pretty good too. So La Victoire is a good example of how they can have good hybrid ships. So this one's kind of just it's similar to the Roanoke, but probably a little bit better. This one is 14 points, 6 cargo. So with a Captain, Helmsman, Explorer, that's just a basic setup that only costs you 20 points, and then you still have 3 cargo open, good cannons, good enough speed for a 5-master, and then you could go crazier with crew, of course, and do some combos to make it really dangerous and devastating. Other version of the Black Pearl, both other versions are decent gunships, especially the damage version is quite good as well. The Darkhawk 2 is a great example of them getting stuff underpriced. So this ship has a negative ability, but her cargo is so high that she's probably not going to reach her cargo limit anyway. So this one probably should have been 15 or more points. So you've got 8 cargo for 10 points with good cannons. So it's just begging to be exploited. It's like kind of a perfect hybrid. Just put Hammersmith aboard, and you'll have an amazing hybrid that's really, really overpowered. This was the best ship in the game until the Banshee's Cry came along, and you can still make a very good case that it's the best or second best. So Darkhawk 2 is really insane, an amazing hybrid. And then Deliverance is a really fast 5-master, and then there's some other good ones here, and then there's a ton of honorable mentions because the pirates have a ton of great gunships and a ton of ships overall. Then I did the top 10 pirate gold runners, which of course Banshee's Cry, best ship in the game, is number 1. Darkhawk 2 I put second. Bloody Jewel, Bonnie Liz, Star of Siam, Raven. Those 4 are almost interchangeable. Bloody Jewel is the best, but they're all extremely good. And then you've got some more interesting options below. The Neptune's Horde is a great hybrid. A high pang with the right crew can be exploited in the best fleets of all time, which I've already talked about. Haipeng was featured recently on the Pirate CSG blog as the card of the day or ship of the day. The Coral is solid, Amity, and then they have a ton of honorable mentions for the gold runners too. I think Dragon should have probably made the top 10, but I might edit these lists someday and kind of reintroduce them a little bit. Another thing about the Pirates is that have a ton of great ships in terms of quantity that are cheap. So, for example, the Mermaid, the Rover, the Carrion Crow, the Banshee's Cry. The Pirates are really good with swarm fleets because they have a host of ships that are between like 1 and 5 points. And I say 1 because the Jolly Mon, they also have the cheapest ship in the game. And another example of being undercosted, the Zeus is only 23 points. She probably could have been 28 or 30, considering that she's a 10 master with Horde and 7 cargo and 3S cannons that are easily improved by the numerous pirate world haters to essentially have 10 2S cannons. So the Zeus is severely underpriced, which pretty much makes her the best 10 master. So it's just, again, it's an embarrassment of riches. Now I've got God Mason's thread up, unique crew abilities by factions. This is a cool thread that I've been linking in the description for the videos of this series. And it looks like by pure quantity, the Pirates looks like they have the most unique crew abilities of named crew by faction. And I'm going to peek through their named crew pretty quickly here in a second. But you can look at that thread to see just how unique a lot of their stuff is. So they have a ton of unique combos on named crew and some abilities that didn't really show up on other named crew from other nations. And I mentioned Hammersmith already, but he's a Captain Helmsman combo crew from Fire and Steel. Probably heard about him before on the blog or the podcast or both. So combining those into the same cargo space is a little risky because if you lose a boarding party, you could make the ship really ineffective real quick if you lose Hammersmith, which is why it's good to have an oarsman aboard. But in general, these crew are amazing, and then they can turn somewhat regular ships into very good hybrids. So because you save a cargo space, and you get both, essential abilities for a hybrid in the same cargo space. So going through some of their named crew, you have a lot of great ones. I'm just going to highlight a few. Don Pedro Gilbert is a sack and island treasure trader, so over 5 points. This guy was often used in some of the better fleets of all time, such as the original Norwegia fleet. So Don Pedro is a really great competitive crew, without a doubt. They do have some very good crew from the movies. Anna Maria, not the best example, but they do have some other good ones coming up. Barstow, they have a bunch of gold capture crew where you can unload captured crew with worth gold at your home island, such as Barstow. They have some historical pirates, which is cool. Bartholomew Roberts, he should have been better. He's a little mediocre in this game, but I have a custom version in my Pirates of the Age of Sail set if you want to check that out. And Blackbeard is yet another gold capture crew. The various versions of Blackheart are usually pretty good. Bonnie Peel is pretty much the best gold capture crew because she's only 8 points and gives you captain. Bruce Gray, World Hater. Calico Cat is just a legend in this game. Showed up from the first set. Was the original Born Leader, Same Action Twice crew, along with her English and Spanish contemporaries from that set. But Calico Cat is unique that pretty much all versions of her are usable, if not very, very good. So South China Sea's version, for example, has Captain and Reroll. The Ocean's Edge version is the best, though, on cost alone, because she has extra action and World Hater for just 6 points. So this is what I was talking about earlier. These should be 9, EA is 5, World Hater is 4, so it should be 9 points total, technically. I could see maybe a -1 discount, just because it's an expensive crew, and you could lose both in the same boarding party, but 6 is 6 is just crazy. So this is a good example of them really benefiting from WizKids just making them cheaper for no good reason. Then she got a remake in Rise of the Fiends, same as the Spanish main version. Calypso is one I want to highlight. She's an incredible crew, one-of-a-kind ability, never seen elsewhere in the game. It's like a whirlpool creation ability that gives the pirates a unique advantage in big games and in certain games with certain house rules in effect. So Calypso is amazing. I think one of the most underutilized and most interesting game pieces in Pirates CSG history. I've used her a decent amount, still not as much as I want to, but she's a lot of fun and really, really fascinating crew to try to use and optimize. Captain Barbosa, Captain World Hater. Captain Blackheart is the original SAC captain, so the Pirates have a few of these along with Havana Black, so they get a couple SAC captains, which are amazing. Competitive crew. Captain Davy Jones is really unique. They got a couple Fleet Admiral crew. Admiral's action ability, that's a good ability, especially in big games. Especially if you combine it with reroll. You can see they have a ton of crew with great abilities. Captain Jack Hawkins has a nice additional ability. Captain Jack Sparrow has, I already talked about him elsewhere numerous times, but his second ability is probably the least play tested by WizKids, maybe, arguably. He's got a link to all pirate ships, so this is pretty much the most exploitable and arguably, in some cases, the best named crew ever, because if you set your fleet up right, this guy will give you the win most of the time. So he's involved in most of the best fleets of all time, such as High Pang Fort Frenzy, UPS 2.0, and the other UPS fleets. So Captain Jack Sparrow, ludicrously overpowered, just really a big mistake. Totally messes up competitive play. So he would probably have to make a ban list if this game came back with competitive play. It's just because otherwise he would just dominate almost every tournament. So Captain Mission, he's got a few versions. The first two are pretty good, actually. I like him a lot. Captain Parley for 4 points is a great deal from Rise of the Fiends with the super rare version. They also have a bunch of crew that are just good in general, so they have extra action and same action twice crew all over the place. So Captain Sao Feng from Caribbean has EA for 5. He's not really talked about much, but they just get yet another good crew with a great ability. So then they got a couple of Home Island Raiders. Christopher Moody, a historical crew. Coconut combines Explorer with Reroll. Crimson Angel has some really good versions, such as the Ocean's Edge version, which is similar to the Calico Cat Ocean's Edge version. So Crimson Angel probably should have been 7 points, which is only 5, so they get another discount there. So to take advantage of the pirates, use Crimson Angel and annoy your opponents, I guess. So, and they've got some really unique ones. Cursed Captain Jack has Parley, and then he has this weird ability that can shut down all abilities except Parley. So that's super annoying, but it's also super good if you can get the rolls right and build your fleet around him. So Cursed Captain Jack, yet another one-of-a-kind pirate crew that doesn't show up. His ability doesn't show up anywhere else in the game. They actually have 2 crew like this with World Hater and Sack. That's an amazing combo for any gunship, as you probably know. So Derek the Red and the Headhunter, the original version of the Headhunter, they have those 2 abilities built in, which is fantastic. And getting into a few repeats with the sets. But El Phantasma has 2 Home Island rating versions before you turn to Cursed. Emperor Blackheart, of course, linked to the Zeus, basically has the all-powerful ability, pretty much a clone of Davy Jones from Ocean's Edge. So yet another amazing pirate name crew. They do have a few stinkers like Empress, which is like this tiger that has a horrible ability. But anyway, and of course they get their regular firepot specialists and everything else. Jenny Gallows is actually an amazing name crew, +2 gold ability for 3 points. So rich get richer, poor get poorer, I guess. Gentleman Jacquard is a cargo increaser, doesn't take up cargo space. Jeffrey Flores is okay. Broadside attack for 3 points is decent. That's another good example of just a cheap pirate name crew in terms of other factions getting it for more expensive. So, for example, Commander Temple from Barbary Coast has broadside attack for 5. This guy essentially has it for 3, which makes him, more usable, especially because he has Captain built in. Griffin is one I like to use a lot. He has Captain and Reroll. I often use him with Calico Cat or Crimson Angel to reroll the same action twice or extra action rolls. Gunner is yet another SAT crew. Hammersmith is amazing, as you probably know. Havana Black, another SAT captain. They didn't get just one, they got a couple. Sandro Ramirez is just like Captain Barbosa, so he's got Captain and World Hater. Jack Hawkins has a bunch of good versions. Similar to Calico Cat, he has a lot of versions, like 3 or 4 or 5, and most, if not all of them, are playable, if not extremely good. So Jack Sparrow's got, Captain Jack Sparrow has a few versions, but the OP overpowered version of him is the best. John Lafitte has Admiral's Action, just like Captain Elizabeth Swan. And along with 2 SAC captains, they got another SAC crew for 3 points. Jimmy Legs doesn't have captain, but any source of SAC is amazing. So Jonah is one of those 0-point delimiter crew. He can be abused with the Darkhawk too, although I wouldn't really recommend it. It's not really, you don't really need to do that to optimize the Darkhawk 2, for example. But Lady Baptiste is a good one. Reroller. Requin, another SAT crew. You can see they just have so many great ones here. They got their Navigator from Savage Shores. Drawn Cannonball Gallows, 2 versions of him. This one is the extra action ability for 5 points, just like Captain Cao Fang, so they got a bunch of those crew as well, along with the same action twice crew. Gaim the Monkey is okay. Hag of Tortuga, first 0 Alara +5. Cannonball Gallows is the second one. There's the other Headhunter before he turned cursed in the following set. And we'll end with a few more unique ones. So Tia Dalmo gives them a Canceller. I will say there's other factions with more Cancellers, so as big as the Pirates are and as many great name crews they have only have 1 Canceller. So, a little disappointing, but, you know, it's probably a good thing, because if they had more than one, it's just overkill at that point. So, and both versions of Will Turner are okay. Basically, named captain with a boarding ability, so S-board versus +1 to boarding roll is not bad. So you can see they have a ton of amazing name crew, a ton of great ships. So to take advantage of them, like I already went over, they're not that hard to win with. It's very easy to take advantage of them, I guess, compared to other factions. They have a ton of great ships, ton of cheap ships, ton of cheap named crew for how good they are. And I'll put links to all these threads and whatnot in the database in the description, along with a link to God Mason's thread. And I also have some stuff on eBay. There are some specific like faction-based lots. So there's a few pirate lots up right now. The price is reasonable. Depends on what you want. So you could just get, you know, Spanish main packs and then get a variety of factions. But if you are looking for the pirates specifically, I'm going to include an eBay link to this search, and it also leads to some other cool lots, it looks like. So I'll probably put a link to, well, there's a link to Hills Wholesale Gaming, I believe, in all my descriptions as one of the default things in the description. So you can check them out as well. They have good prices on packs. So question of the day would be, how do you get the most out of the pirate faction? I guess it's kind of easy and self-explanatory, but what are your favorite pirate ships to use? Do you like using them as a faction? Do you shy away from them at all because they're so overpowered? And do you face any stigma, I guess, from your gaming group if you do use them, or some of their best ships anyway? So this was the pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages of the pirate faction. If you want to see more videos, give a like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.